So the OnePlus guys have been able to raise their prices from $300 with the OnePlus One to $550 for the OnePlus 6T in just 4 years. I mean, if you take their McLaren edition, it sells for $700. Now, why have they been able to do that and people still love them for it? I think there are four main factors that contribute to this. The first one is product. I mean, they've done a brilliant job. Very simply put, it's a really decent, good-looking smartphone with very high basic specifications. Now, when I say basic, I mean the processor, the RAM, the display, the battery, and the camera to an extent. Now, if you've got all these five basic specifications covered really well, I think that does the job, because those are the five things that you really need for 90% of your use on any smartphone. Now, everything else besides that is just icing on the cake. And that's what phones like Samsung and iPhones do. They've got Bixby and Siri, they've got Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, they've got wireless charging, which is really slow. And that's where OnePlus sees the opportunity to cut costs, bring the cost down, and only deliver those features that you really require for majority of your use on smartphone. So it starts lowering its price, but up to a certain point where it feels that's it, that's a really good phone, and then you don't end up with a really cheap phone with ugly specifications, but you also don't get a very expensive smartphone with features that you're not going to use for the most of the times. And that's when you get a smartphone like OnePlus, which is sitting at the perfect balance of price and features that you're going to use for the most of the time. And on top of all of these high-end specifications, they've got Oxygen OS, which is of course the latest version of Android, but they optimize it as per, their own hardware to make it work really fast. I mean, it's blazing fast, it's really snappy. I just simply love how, they've kept it very close to the stock Android Google experience, but at the same time, they've just managed to make it slightly smarter, slightly better, slightly faster. So all that hardware, it sort of converges really well, blends really well with the Oxygen OS. So OnePlus just focused on features that matter the most and delivered it to you, which makes it a great product. It's not the best display, it's not the best camera, it's not the best phone for videos or music, but it's just such a beautiful balance of all features put together. And it delivers an experience that most people expect from a premium segment smartphone. Second, it had to do a lot with their marketing strategy, which includes first, pricing. They took up a pricing band in which there weren't a lot of options or phones already available. I mean, any phone cheaper than the bracket that OnePlus was in was too cheap, or anything above the bracket that OnePlus was in was too expensive. So there wasn't really any phone that was in between, and people were really looking for a smartphone in that price zone. So, OnePlus kind of nailed that, and it was a very opportune moment for OnePlus to capture, and people jumped on to that opportunity. I think the pricing really played into OnePlus's favor. The second point in their marketing strategy has to do with how they really began, which was about these referrals and invitations, and that sort of built a huge community for them real quick. That loyalty that people, that OnePlus users have. First of all, it's amazing how OnePlus has been able to do that in just 4 years. It takes brands years to do what they've been able to do in less than 4 years. I mean, and I think a lot of that really had to do with the fact that they were able to successfully implement this referral and invitation strategy. It sort of made OnePlus a very exclusive product to own, and it wasn't even that expensive at that time. It's just something about the way they did that. Okay, the third one has to do with the kind of associations that OnePlus did with these really unique entities like Star Wars, Avengers, McLaren. I mean, the OnePlus, given its price point and the kind of features it comes up with, which are really basic but really high-end, is that it could have been easily been considered as a cheap, affordable, economic smartphone, right? But it wanted to build aspiration in people that OnePlus is the phone to own. And that's how OnePlus has become a brand that stands for power, performance, and speed. Now, the third point is a pretty interesting one, and it has to do with the market dynamics globally. In 2014, which is when the OnePlus came, Google Nexus had exited the market. And brands like HTC, LG, Sony were witnessing decline, and they sort of became non-existent. Now, someone who was looking for a premium smartphone only had either Apple or Samsung to look at. It was a really sweet time for OnePlus to be just there. And that's how OnePlus really picked up. Now in India, there were more things happening than just what was happening globally. First of all, there was rapid penetration of internet. There was massive rise in e-commerce, and there was a familiarity that was growing with respect to making payments online transactions. At the same time, people also started realizing what a premium smartphone experience is. I mean, their knowledge grew with time. And the big one was presence of no-cost EMIs really allowed OnePlus to, strengthen its footholding in the Indian market because they were really relying on e-commerce channels to, distribute their phones and make a huge sell out of that. And the last reason that I think OnePlus is a huge success is its customer base. The loyalty, the fans, it's a cult already. And as I've already talked about in the video, it's very difficult for any brand to achieve the level of success, fans, and the love their fans have for a brand. I mean, it's pretty insane. I go to all these launch events that OnePlus has, and I also go to launch events from other companies. And take my word for it, what I see at OnePlus events, the crowd cheering, woohooing when the brand reveals its price, reveals its features, or even just plays an ad. It's pretty insane. People go nuts. I mean, even if they show a travel backpack that OnePlus comes up with, people go crazy looking at that and they really hoot. So it's the community, and this community sort of really plays in changing other people's minds who do not already have OnePlus. So yeah, these were the 4 reasons that I felt are major contributing factors to OnePlus success in such a short span. And if you think there are more reasons to it, just feel free to have a conversation here in the comment section. I'll be a part of that. And if you're a OnePlus fan, hit like.